Now I know what my mother must have known. That if something had ever happened to that other woman's children, that would have been the end of us.
A beautifully poetic tragedy about racism and the country life. I am the Wiz. Alright everybody, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this review, please leave a like at the end of this video. It really helps out in the algorithm. And if you want to watch more, please subscribe. I do 3 reviews a week on this channel. Alright everyone, I'm reviewing the 2017 drama Mudbound, featuring a very large cast including Carey Mulligan, Jason Mitchell, Jason Clarke, Mary J. Blige, and Rob Morgan, directed by Dee Rees. I'm not gonna lie to you. The setting at which Mudbound is set is, ugly. It's really not visually appealing. It's set in the Mississippi Delta, where it's, well, like the title says, it's full of mud. It's full of dirt and grime. Everyone just feels dirty. It just looks really ugly and dirty throughout the entire time that you're watching this film. The film doesn't try to beautify any of it. They don't try to actually make it much more visually appealing, and I think that's a good thing, because the land that the film is set on is for a very distinct purpose. It's to show the hopelessness and futile feeling the characters have on this land. Mudbound is about 2 families. The white family, called the McGowans, that centers around the domestic life of Laura, played by Carey Mulligan, and her husband Henry, played by Jason Clarke, who were swindled out of a home and forced to live on the farm they just purchased. The black family, the Jacksons, revolve around Hap, played by Rob Morgan, and Florence, played by Mary J. Blige, who have lived on the land, who work there for the McGowans. So a lot of the drama has to deal with racial tensions between all of the characters. There are scenes in the film that are basically just people being flat out racist. The one character in the film, which I'll get to, is the perfect embodiment of that. There's also parts of it where it's not as obvious, but if you're searching within the subtext of the film of what's going on and what's happening with the Jacksons, you can see the racism involved in that. The cast is really good in this. I can't think of one person who is miscast in this entire movie, and that is really hard to do for a film that is an ensemble film. Every actor in this film seems to fit well with its role. As far as performances, I think all the actors do a very good job in the film. They keep the right tone, they keep the narrative going in the right cadence. They're not too theatrical, but they have enough emotion to get invested into the story. But the performances I will highlight. Garrett Hudland as the fighter pilot brother Jamie, I think is great in the film, which is thanks to the second half of the film where he shows the results of his time at war. On the other side, I think Jason Mitchell as Ronzel is a sensitive performance that shows on his face and on his body the conflict of coming back after the war and possibly missing being over there due to the racism he felt at home. Both of these stories are actually, I think, the best parts of this film, because it really shows these characters in a full breath, whereas I would say the other characters aren't as deep, even though those performances are still very good. I also think Mary J. Blige does a very good job as the hardened yet sensitive Florence, but to me, the best performance of the film is Jonathan Banks as Pappy McGowan. Pappy is a repugnant character. He's a full-on racist who uses the N-word constantly in the film, who really is there to essentially increase the emotional tension of every scene. So whenever you see him, you're going to feel some discomfort. The characters are going to be miserable. There's going to be more drama. And Banks does a great job of not only doing that, but making you repulsed by his character while not wanting to look away from what he does. But the biggest strength of Mudbound is the way that it tells the characters' stories. So for a film that is about over 2 hours long but has multiple characters, there's only so much you can do with these characters. But what they do in this film is they utilize voiceover to bring about more detail on these characters. Now, normally, I don't like voiceover, and that's basically because it feels lazy in most movies. Why tell someone what a character is thinking when you can just show it in the movie? That's the point of a movie. You show the character and what he's going through. But Mudbound uses the voiceover to provide a more lyrical and poetic feel when opening up these characters. The film doesn't just dump the narrative on the lap of the viewer with voiceover. It colors within the lines of the characters while showing the feelings of the characters on screen. And that's key. If they were just saying like, oh, Hap is sad because X happened, and Hap is angry because of, and Florence is upset because, like, that would be boring and it would just be lazy. But that's not what the film does. And it provides more of a depth to these characters than just narrating it in a very plain way. Now, you could have the criticism of, well, they could have just shown that on screen, but I think that would have been a longer movie, and Mudbound is kind of a slow movie. So I think with what they utilized with the voiceover and with the way the film feels, I think this was a nice way of balancing that. So Mudbound is a film that both dances around its subject, but also takes it head on. It shows the ugly, brutal desperation of living in that area at the time, while having its character development feel more lyrical than direct. It's a film that beautifully tells the story in brutal detail, while telling humanistic stories with its narrative. Alright, so before I get into my rating, let's see what other people think about this film. Letterboxd users has this at a 3.8 out of 5. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a score of 97%, and this was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Supporting Actress for Mary J. Blige, Best Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, and Original Song. I'm giving Mudbound a 4 stars out of 5. I think this is a very good movie. Now, I've read some reviews on Letterboxd specific after I wrote my review, where they felt this was kind of slow and boring. Now, I can understand why people think this is kind of a slow movie, but I do appreciate what the film does by not telling the story directly, but using a more poetic licensing in order to actually tell the story in a deeper way. Performances are great. The cast is really good in this movie, but I want to highlight Jonathan Banks, Garrett Hedlund, and Jason Mitchell in this film. I think they're the best performances of this film. You know, Mary J. Blige is good too, but I think those 3 are the best performance in this. So, 4 stars out of 5 for me for Mudbound. It is on Netflix if you want to watch it on streaming, and it's on the Criterion Collection. I just missed this for the Criterion 50% off sale. So, maybe next time. Alright guys, that is it for this review. Now let me ask you a question. What do you think about voiceover or narration in films? Do you not care? Do you hate it? Do you like it? Let me know in the comments section. And also let me know what you think of this review. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.
You know what? You're absolutely right. When we was overseas, they didn't make us use the back door. General Patton put us on the front line. Yes, sir. And you know what we did? We kicked the hell out of Hitler and them Jacks. While y'all at home, safe and sound.